Hello students, today we will start our 7th lecture of Jurics. Myself Jitendra Sharma, your teacher of Jurics. Today's topic is the Drugs and Cosmetics Act 1940 and Rules 1945. This is continuation to the 5th and 6th lecture. So continuing with that, pharmacy. For the purpose of this act, the term pharmacy means and includes every store or shop or other place where drugs are dispensed, where drugs are prepared, where prescriptions are compounded, which by sign, symbol, or indication gives the impression that the operations mentioned above are carried out in premises which has upon it or displayed within it or affixed it or used in connection with it a sign bearing the words pharmacy, pharmacist, dispensing chemist, or pharmaceutical chemist, which is advertised in these terms. Before granting a license for a pharmacy, the licensing authority may consider point 1 the average number of licenses during the period of 3 years immediately preceding. Second, the occupation, trade, or business ordinarily carried out by such applicant during the preceding 3 years. Schedule N specifies the list of minimum requirements for running a pharmacy. These include the following. Point 1 entrance. The front of pharmacy shall bear an inscription pharmacy. Point 2 premises. The premises of pharmacy shall be separated from rooms for private use. The premises shall be well built, dry, well lit, and ventilated, and of sufficient dimensions so that all goods, especially medicaments and poisons, can be kept in a clearly visible and appropriate manner. The area of dispensing department shall be not less than 6 square meters for one pharmacist, with additional 2 square meters for each additional pharmacist. The height of the premises shall be at least 2.5 meters. The floor of pharmacy shall be smooth and washable. The walls shall be plastered or tiled or oil painted. A pharmacy department shall also be provided with ample quantity of good quality water. The dispensing department should be separated by a barrier to prevent the admission of the public. Third is furniture. The drugs and chemicals and medicaments shall be kept in a room appropriate to their properties and in such special containers as will prevent any deterioration of the contents. Drawers, glasses, and other containers used for keeping medicaments shall be of suitable size and capable of being closed tightly to prevent the entry of dust. Every container shall bear a label of appropriate size, easily readable, with names of medicaments as given in the pharmacopoeias. A pharmacy shall be provided with a dispensing bench, the top of which shall be covered with washable and impervious material like stainless steel, laminated plastics, etc., A pharmacy shall be provided with a cupboard with lock and key for the storage of poisons and shall be clearly marked by the word poison in red letters on the white background. Fourth is apparatus. A pharmacy shall be provided with the following minimum apparatus and books necessary for making of official preparations and prescriptions. Point 1, balance dispensing sensitivity 30 mg. Balance counter capacity 3 kg, sensitivity 1 gram. Beakers, lipped, assorted sizes, filter papers, funnels, glass, litmus paper, blue and red, measuring cylinders of different sizes, mortar and pestle, ointment pots, ointment slab, pipettes, ring stand, rubber stamps, pad, scissors, spatula, spirit lamp, glass stirring, thermometers, tripod stand, watch glasses, water bath, water distillation unit, wire gauge, pill finisher, pill machine, pill box, pastry mold. Number 5, books. Indian Pharmacopoeia, that should be the latest edition, current edition which is running. National Formulary of India, that should also be of current edition. The Drugs and Cosmetics Act 1940, the Drugs and Cosmetic Rules 1945, the Pharmacy Act 1948, the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act 1985. These books should be there. Point 6, journal. A pharmacy shall be conducted under the continuous personal supervision of a registered pharmacist whose name shall be displayed conspicuously in the premises. The pharmacist shall always put on clean white overalls. The premises and fittings of the pharmacy shall be properly kept, and everything shall be in good order and clean. All records and registers shall be maintained as required by the law in force. Any container taken from the poison cupboard shall be replaced therein immediately after use in the personal custody of the responsible person. Medicaments, when supplied, shall have the labels conforming to the provisions of the laws in force. Dispensing and compounding of drugs. All dispensing and compounding of drugs against the prescription of an RMP should be done either by the registered pharmacist or under his direct or personal supervision. Supply of drugs other than those specified in Schedule X. Supply of any drug other than those specified in Schedule X should be recorded at the time of supply in a prescribed register maintained for the purpose, and the serial number of the entry in a register should be entered on the prescription. Following particulars should be entered in the register. Point 1, serial number of the entry, 2, date of supply, name and address of prescriber. Point 4, name and address of the patient or the name and address of the owner of the animal if the drug is supplied for the veterinary use. Point 5, names along with the quantities of drug supplied. Point 6, In case of Schedule H and C drugs, the name of the manufacturer, its batch number, and the expiry date, if any. Point 7. Signature of the registered pharmacist under whose supervision the medicine was made or supplied. If the drugs are not compounded in the premises and supplied in the original container, then particulars specified above may be entered in a cash or credit memo book. In case of refill prescriptions, the entry should include a serial number, the date of supply, the quantity supplied, and a reference to the entry when the drug was dispensed in the previous occasion. However, it is not necessary to record the particulars in the register or cash or credit memo in case the drugs are supplied against prescriptions under the Employees State Insurance Scheme if all the particulars are given on them prescriptions and the drugs other than those specified in Schedule C and H are supplied in their original containers. Supply of Schedule C and C1 drugs. Retail supply of such Schedule C and C1 drugs, except by the way of wholesale or on the prescription of a RMP, should be recorded at the time of supply either in a register or in a cash or credit memo book specially maintained for this purpose, in which the following particulars should be entered. Point 1. Serial number of the entry. Point 2. Date of supply. Third, name and address of purchaser. Point 4. Name and quantity of the drug supplied. 5. Name of the manufacturer. Point 6. Batch number and date of expiry. 7. Signature of the qualified person under whose supervision the drug was sold. Number 8. Carbon copies of the cash or credit memo retained by the licensee should be maintained in a legible manner. Supply of Schedule H and X drugs. Substances specified in Schedule H and X should not be sold by retail except on the prescription of a RMP, and in case of substances specified in Schedule X, prescription should be in duplicate, one copy of which shall be retained by the licensee for a period of 2 years. A prescription for Schedule H and X drugs should be: Point 1. In written and signed by the prescriber and dated by him. Point 2. Specify the name and address of the owner of the animal if the drug is meant for the veterinary use. Point 3. Indicate the total amount of medicine to be supplied and the dose to be given. The supply of drugs specified in Schedule H or X to RMP, hospital, dispensing and nursing homes shall be made only against the signed and written order, which should be preserved by the licensee for a period of 2 years. The prescriptions for the Schedule X drugs must be dispensed more than once unless the prescriber has stated thereon that it may be dispensed more than once. However, it may be dispensed at stated number of times or at stated intervals of time in accordance with the directions of the prescriber. At the time of dispensing, there must be noted on prescription above the signature of the prescriber, the name and address of the seller, and the date of dispensing. No person dispensing a prescription containing substances specified in Schedule H and X may supply any other preparation whether containing the same substances or not in thereof. Supply of Schedule X drugs should be recorded at the time of supply in a bond and serial numbered register maintained for this purpose, and separate pages should be allotted for each drug. The following particulars should be entered in the said register. Point 1. Date of purchase. Point 2. Quantity received, if any, the name and address of supplier, and the license number of supplier. Point 3. Name and quantity of the drug supplied, manufacturer's name, batch number or lot number, name and address of the patient purchaser, reference number of the prescription against which supplies were made. Next, bill number and date of receipt of purchase and supply made by him, signature of the person under whose supervision the drugs have been supplied, records of purchase of drugs. The records pertaining to the purchase of all drugs, whether intended to be sold by retail or by wholesale, should be maintained under the following headings. Point 1. Date of purchase. Point 2. Name and address of the license, from whom purchased, and his license number. Point 3. Name and quantity of the drug and its batch number. Point 4. Name of the manufacturer of the drug. Point 5. Purchase bills, including cash or credit memos, should be kept as records. Next is storage of drugs. Storage of Schedule X drugs and drugs with expiry date. Substances specified in Schedule X should be stored under lock and key in cupboard or drawer reserved solely for the storage of these substances, or in a part of premises separate from the remainder of premises, and for which only responsible persons have access. Other drugs with an expiry date should be stored in a separate cupboard. Storage of veterinary drugs. Veterinary drugs should be stored in a cupboard or drawer reserved for the storage of veterinary drugs in a portion of the premises separated from the remainder of premises, to which customers are not permitted to have access. Cancellation and suspension of licenses. The licensing authority can, after giving the license, an opportunity of represent, cancel or suspend a license for the sale and distribution of drugs if the license fails to comply with the conditions of license or with any provisions of the Drugs and Cosmetics Act or rules thereunder. If, however, such failure or contravention is the conclusion of an act or omission on the part of an agent or employee, the license shall not be cancelled or suspended if the license proved to be satisfaction of the licensing authority that the act or omission was not instigated or conveyed by him, or the license be a firm or company by a partner of the firm or a director of the company. Point 2. That he or his agent or employee had not been guilty of any similar act or omission within 12 months. Therefore, the date on which the act or omission in question took place or where an agent or employee had been guilty of any such act or omission. The licensee had not or could not reasonable have had knowledge of that previous act or omission. Point 3. If the act or omission was a continuing one, he had not or could not reasonably have had knowledge of that previous act or omission. Point 4. That he had used due diligence to ensure that the conditions of the license or the provisions of the act or the rules made thereunder were observed. An appeal against cancellation of suspension order may be made to the state government within 3 months. Sales of Ayurvedic, Siddha and Unani drugs. Ayurvedic, including Siddha and Unani drugs, were brought within the purview of Drugs and Cosmetics Act and rules in 1964. This was probably necessitated because the Uddappa committee appointed by the government to look into the manufacture of Ayurvedic and Unani drugs found that the important components of such drugs included gold, musk, saffron, etc., and were largely faked. However, for effective implementation of the Act, it is essential that the government should publish Ayurvedic and Unani pharmacopoeia and prescribe the standards for such formulations. Ayurvedic, Siddha or Unani drugs include all medicine intended for the internal or external use for or in human beings or animals and manufactured exclusively in accordance with the formulae prescribed in the authoritative books of Ayurvedic, Siddha and Unani systems of medicine specified in the first schedule of the Act. A license is not necessary for the sale of any Ayurvedic, Siddha licensed or Unani drug provided the drugs are manufactured by a person to manufacture drugs under the Act. Sales of homeopathic medicines. Homeopathic medicines include any drug which is recorded in homeopathic provisions or therapeutic efficiency of which has been established through long clinical experience as recorded in authoritative homeopathic literature of India and abroad, and which is prepared according to the techniques of homeopathic pharmacy and covers combination of ingredients of such homeopathic medicines but does not include a medicine which is administered by parental route. A registered homeopathic medical practitioner means a person who is registered in central register or a state register of homeopathy. License for the sale of homeopathic medicine can be obtained by making an application accompanied by the request fee to the licensing authority appointed by the state government. The application is to be made in Form 19B and the license is issued in Form 20C or 20D for retail and wholesale respectively. If medicines are sold in more than one place, separate license shall be obtained in respect of each place. Conditions of license. The license to sell homeopathic medicines is subject to the following conditions. Point 1. The premises where the homeopathic medicines are stocked for the sale are sold shall be maintained in a clean condition. Point 2. The sale of homeopathic medicines shall be conducted under the supervision of a person competent to deal in homeopathic medicines. Point 3. A practicing homeopathic medical practitioner shall not deal in premises where such medicines are sold. Point 4. The licensee shall permit an inspector to inspect the premises and furnish such information as required. The licensee shall maintain the records of purchase and sale of homeopathic medicines containing alcohol together with names and address of parties to whom sold. No records of retail sale in respect of homeopathic potentist preparations in containers of 30 ml or less capacity and in respect of mother tinctures made up in quantities up to 60 ml need to be maintained in case of retail sale. The license shall maintain an inspection book in which the inspector may record his impressions and defects noticed. Other rules relating to duration, cancellation and suspension of license are similar to those for allopathic drugs. Sale of cosmetics. Cosmetics which do not contravene the provisions of the Act and the rules may be sold without a license. Dealers are bound to disclose on demand the name and other particulars of the persons from which they obtain cosmetics. Penalty for sale or distribution of cosmetics contravening the provisions of the Act and rules are same as applicable for their manufacture. Following classes of cosmetics are prohibited to be stocked, sold or exhibited for sale. Any cosmetic which is either misbranded, spurious or not of standard quality. Point 2. Any cosmetic containing any ingredient which may render it unsafe or harmful for use under the directions indicated or recommended. Point 3. Any cosmetic which is imported or manufactured or otherwise in contravention of the provisions of the Act and rules. An inspector may require a person not to dispose of any stock of cosmetics. So, thanks students, we end our today's topic. With this, we will continue in the next lecture. So, thanks for attending this lecture. If you have any queries, let me know. I will be there to help you. Go through this thoroughly, and if you have any queries, any questions, you want any explanation more about this topic, you can call me or message me. I will be there to help you. So thank you students once again. Thanks.